nights. It's like I can't walk on the ceiling. Oh yeah, got me dreaming, dreaming in colors I never dreamed in. Oh yeah, I let you in deeper than I let anyone else before. Filling up with my broken pieces, took them all and made them yours. Didn't know what my heartbeat needed. Skipping out, no I can't keep score. When I lose my breath, boy, you got me breathing. Oh, every little thing you do, every time you hold me, take me higher, higher. Every little thing you do, every time you hold me, take me higher, higher. Oh. Magic, no, I'm never letting go. Now that I have it with you, when you kiss me, it's like the stars fall out the sky onto my heart to cover up what I don't wanna show. I let you in deeper than I let anyone else before. Filling up with my broken pieces, took them all and made them yours. Didn't know what my heartbeat needed. Skipping out, no I can't keep score. When I lose my breath, boy, you got me breathing. Oh, every little thing you do, every time you hold me, take me higher, higher. Every little thing you do, every time you hold me, take me higher, higher. Oh, you take me higher, you take me higher, baby, take me higher. You take me higher, baby, take me higher. You take me higher, baby, take me higher. Yeah, you take me higher, baby.
Welcome to Saturday Night Vibe, progressive new show with Les BS3. I am your host, Marlon Clyburn, along with Tracy Carson, Theus Robinson, and Anna Hart. As you can see from the title, we are going to go in timeline order of the fight on the war on drugs. I really want to change that title and say the so-called war on drugs, but maybe I'll change it later. But we're going to go timeline to timeline on the fight on the war on drugs. Also, the second hour, something that we haven't done in a very, very long time. We have our next candidate for the worst person of the year. So everybody stay tuned for that. Theus, how's everything going, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How you know? Oh, actually, I'm not good, but I'm gonna say I'm good. I'm good.
It's stuff getting to you.
It's not a matter of like just stuff getting to me. It's just we're in a really bad place, and people don't take it serious enough.
Yeah, I hear you, brother.
And one thing I can't play about is my children's lives.
That's true. Anna, how's everything going with you?
Doing good. Doing good. I've been. I think I told you guys I had a friend from out of state, and so I had a week with somebody I've been friends with since a teenager, and haven't seen them in quite a long time. So it was lovely, and I'm doing good. I'm doing good. And likewise with this from my nephew.
Good. Tracy?
I am doing great. I'm doing great, 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 great. Dropped a whole lot of money, but I know what the future is. So even though I cried, because I said I could have got my hair done, which I did. Didn't nobody mention it, but I did get my hair ironed out today. But it's been going great.
Okay. So
That's
let
me. I
me
was supposed to jump in and say, your hair looks great. Blah, 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 blah.
As always.
your hair looks great. Blah 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 blah.
You know what?
Your hair looks great. Blah blah blah
Blah
blah
blah
blah.
blah.
Y'all just still mad at me because I banned y'all yesterday.
Hmm?
You
I
did.
get
What?
banned all the time.
Okay. I'm so used to it. I didn't even know I was banned. So okay.
Yeah. My love for you is not dependent upon your love for me.
Oh,
No.
where is my barf bag? Because I forgot. I want to throw it now. I want to throw it.
Please hit that like button, share with friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you catch up after the show live, leave a comment. We are all about that free support. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And after the live show, please leave a comment again. It will boost the shows in the YouTube algorithm, and that is payment near and dear to all of us. Come and join in on the conversation. And as always, share this video on your social media platform. Now, why are we getting all these things right now? All last week, the numbers of that show and the shows that I do afterwards, the shorter version of the 2 hour show, has been absolutely freaking phenomenal. And I am talking about numbers that is either that watches are either in the double or triple digits within a week. The numbers have been phenomenal. The likes have not. The subscriptions have. Now, I will give you that much that we did pick up 12 subscribers since 2 weeks ago. So 12 subscribers in 2 weeks. I'm greedy. I want more because I really feel like this show is speaking to a lot of people who may not have any knowledge or little knowledge of the stuff that we talk about. So please subscribe to our show. Please hit that like button. Please share with other people. We know you're watching, and that's the part that I'm getting to it is that you are watching. The numbers is in there. You are watching the show. You are watching the replay. You are watching our replies. You are watching the second hour where we acting freaking silly. And you're watching that like crazy. You are watching the show. So please continue watching. Please hit the like buttons. Please comment afterwards. I respond to absolutely every comment unless it's not addressed to me. So if it's addressed to Thea or Tracy or Anna, I'll let them address it. But if this is just a wide open comment or Marlon ABC, I address every comment that I see. I'm very active on this platform. So that's my cry for help. Hello, Mickey.
Hi, Mickey. Hey,
Hey,
Hello.
Susan.
Hello.
hello,
Learn
Learn
life.
Life. Hit that like button for the engagement. Thank you, Learn Life. So, without further ado, let's get this party started. So, before we can even talk about the war on drugs, we have to go way back into the 60s, which, if y'all been watching this show for a while, you notice the pattern that we always got to go way back to how we are, to how did we get to where we are now, is a proven point. And why I do this is to say that this didn't up and just happen. There was decades upon decades upon decades of systemic racism. So for this topic, we're going to go back to the 1960s. And it wasn't the war on drugs that started all, it was the war on crime.
In order to understand the war on drugs, we have to talk about the origins of the criminalization of Black communities. As we've discussed, this has been consistent throughout American history. But debates on how to address drug use in society began to affect Black communities more directly in the 1960s. Even though President Lyndon B. Johnson is best known for his Great Society legislation and passing the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, he also declared what was called a war on crime in March of 1965. The war on crime was not exactly the same as the war on drugs, but it put in place many of the same powers that would eventually make the war on drugs as expansive and devastating as it was. The war on crime produced the Law Enforcement Assistance Act, which in 1965 authorized the federal government to take a direct role in militarizing local police. Then, the Safe Streets Act of 1968 invested $400 million in the war on crime and created the Law Enforcement Assistance Administration to oversee the funding. Most of it went to supervise and surveil low-income urban communities, even though those communities weren't the only places that crime and drugs could be found. But low-income urban communities are where Black people often lived.
So let the games begin. But I'm going to go back before I talk to the panel. That was step one. Step one, you could kind of look at it as getting physical evidence. I know it's a better term, but you'll understand what I mean when I play the next video. Step one was getting the physical evidence, getting the data, so to speak. Their data, but getting the data, so to speak. Step two is now you're going to have to turn that data into propaganda.
These policies and research, like the Moynihan Report, a report on the poverty in Black communities, served to develop and spread stereotypes about Black urban poverty. They said that the tangle of poverty and drug use was largely the result of individual and cultural flaws. The Moynihan Report said that, quote, at the heart of the deterioration of the fabric of Negro society is the deterioration of the Negro family. It is the fundamental source of the weakness of the Negro community at the present time. Moynihan acknowledged racism still played a role, but seemed to think that the real issue was the structure of Black families, which, given all the structural impediments Black people were facing, just seems off base. All of this helped lead to the end of the previous war on poverty and shape the rationale, legislation, and policies for the war on crime.
So, we have the data, which you fundamentally made sure that you had the data by concentrating on a certain group of people. So it wasn't wide range. It wasn't a mix of. It was your data on a certain group of people. So you took that data, made a report saying, well, this is the reason why the Black community is degrading every day. This is what our information has shown you. It shows you that no matter how many times we have sat there and said crime is everywhere, drugs is everywhere, it doesn't matter. When you think of drugs, the report tells you automatically think of the Black community, Black and brown community. When you think of crime, you automatically think of the Black and brown community because it was constructed to be that way. That was the point of it. It wasn't a mix of information. It was a systematic, pinpoint look at a certain group. So, anybody can talk now.
All right. Well, the 1960s is. I get you got to pick up from somewhere, but America has always criminalized the black body. That's how we were able to dehumanize us and subjugate our people and putting us into slavery. So they've been doing it since day one. We were brutes. We were monsters. You know, we had to be tamed. Um, Slavery was necessary to, what's the word that they use? Socialize the black savage, you know, even though we're the fathers of education. But anyway, all that stuff goes all the way back. I mean, people may be tired of hearing me saying it, but the nature of the European is fucking evil. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you roll it forward, you come into the 60s. By the time we got to the 60s, even though America typically fights over the color line, it wasn't all about the color line. By the time you start sliding into that part of American history, it's more about, notice that it's the war on drugs, it's the war on crime, but it's never the war on poverty. And poverty is sitting at the base of your crime issues, your drug issues, right? It's never the war on corporate greed, or it's never the war on, they never focus the war on what's coming into the country. They just focus on once it's already in the country, right? So it's all smoke and mirrors, man. It's all smoke and mirrors. So yeah, I hear what old boy was saying, but I'm not overly impressed with his presentation.
Okay.
Well, you
What would
asked,
you
man.
what would you do differently, Fierce?
I don't know. I guess I would have brought more context like I just did. I mean, but like I said, you got to start from somewhere, and that was the point that he chose to start from. So okay, cool. So we look at it from the Johnson or whatever, but there were a lot of other factors that he could have put in there as well. But I guess when it takes you 20 minutes to say 3 words, you got to be kind of careful how much you try to put out there. I don't know. So this isn't me attacking him. I mean, do your thing. It's just his style of presentation is not to my particular fancy.
Well, that's why
But
we're here. We're here to prep it up a little bit. He gives the information. We give a more deep understanding about what he said.
right.
So, and you're right. We're starting at the 60s because we're on this certain topic of saying about the war on drugs. That's why we started in
Yeah.
the 1960s on this topic. But you're right. Been going on since we got off the boat. Look,
And
that's a
then
lie. It started
even if you don't,
when they got us on the boat.
it was before that because it was the Pope that decided that it was okay to enslave Africans. But I was also going to say the war on drugs. It's all about criminalizing the person or the community. It's not about the drugs. It's never about the drugs. So when China decided they weren't going to keep getting high off their opium, we went to war with them. When black people were the ones that were on heroin in the 20s, it was called black tar, and it was criminalizing us based on heroin use. But ever since that time, white folks been the one on heroin for the most part. So it stopped being in the news. It stopped being a forefront thing. And then when you roll into the 60s, now it's marijuana. Well, who else is doing marijuana? It was the hippies. It was the young people. So you start to criminalize them because how were they voting? They were voting liberal. They were opposing structures. They were pushing back against societal constructs, right? They were doing those things, and that gets in the way of the conservative well, the conservative is always, but I think back then they were still Democrats. Um, it gets in the way. So it's always like look, just below where they're trying to point our heads towards, and then the war on drugs, it became its own thing. coming out of the 60s and the 70s. A lot of money tied into it. I made a point not long ago that you look at the criminal justice infrastructure of America, if crime actually started to go down, we know what America would do because it's done it in the past when crime dropped a little bit too much. It goes and makes new laws to create new crime because it has to feed the machine. So the war on drugs is just another term for the crime or the police apparatus that is. Imagine if you were able to get drugs under control. What would happen? You would have communities that instead of fighting each other, they would start fighting outside of each other. That becomes a problem. And then how many lawyers will lose their jobs? How many judges? How many parole officers? How many correctional officers? There's an entire infrastructure that says we have to keep people criminals. We warehouse in prison. We warehouse more people in America than any other country.
We're gonna get to that. I got the numbers on that. I got literally the data on that. And speaking of, since you've already done hit into it, let's go ahead and get into this so-called war on drugs.
And during the Nixon presidency, he was the first person to use the term war on drugs and stated that drug abuse was, quote, public enemy number one. President Nixon increased federal funding for drug control agencies, and in 1973, he established the Drug Enforcement Administration, or the DEA, a special police force targeting illicit drug use and drug smuggling. The Nixon administration also categorized marijuana as a Schedule I drug, which is the most restrictive drug category in the United States, meaning punishments for being found with that drug would be severe. During Jimmy Carter's presidency, there were some efforts to make drug policy slightly less punitive. Between 1973 and 1977, 11 states did decriminalize marijuana possession, but the war on drugs was far from over. In the 1980s, President Ronald Reagan brought back many of the drug possession and distribution policies of the Nixon administration. The First Lady, Nancy Reagan, even started her famous Just Say No campaign, which was intended to address the dangers of drug use. The Reagan administration also pushed for smaller government more broadly, arguing that the expansion of social resources like welfare programs and increased funding for community programming contributed to a sense of over-reliance and exacerbated perceived social failings. During Reagan's administration is when we see some of the most severe policies related to drug use in U.S. history. They passed harsh penalties at the federal level and encouraged state legislators to implement these harsh penalties as well. This led to a massive increase of incarceration for nonviolent drug crimes, and these policies disproportionately impacted Black and Latino communities. And many argue that the Reagan administration did actually intend to make some of these policies about race. I mean, they created the welfare queen stereotype, a harmful caricature of a Black woman who used welfare checks and child rearing to take money from the government. While never actually saying that the welfare queen was Black, Reagan relied on pretty racist language to promote this idea and used similar language while promoting the war on drugs.
So Anna, all this, yes, you, all this is to say, going back to the propaganda. The propaganda to me is important because the propaganda created the policies which they was going to use anyway to stereotypically say, hey, we know where the crime is. We know who's doing it. We know why this is bad. We even so far as to go, we know the specific drugs that they are using the most of, and we have to make sure that those are the most offensive drugs to put you in jail for as long as we possibly can. So, Anna, go ahead, your thoughts.
My mother was in Canada, as was my biological father. Um, in the 60s. They were hippies. They were part of the movement. They were um, musicians who remembered, protests, and when some protests actually did do something. And I'm really proud to say my biological father was at the march uh, in DC in '63. He was born in 1951. He asked his older brother to take him. So my parents talk about this time of people were working with each other. They were actively a part of a community in um, BC that they worked at the clinic. They worked with feeding the poor. They also were the poor. And there was a, I'm going to say it was a quick but also dragged out change from this peace, love, pass the joint to fuck you. Where's my coke? Where's my heroin? Don't get in my way. And in my generation, I mean, we had DARE. I had a cop who introduced to him in middle school, and he liked to hang around. I saw him a few times. Only every time that I was shown a gun was that guy. Yeah, a cop going, "Hey kids, you want to see my uniform? Do you want to see my gun?" Later find out that he went to jail for beating his wife and doing drugs. And some of us knew something was up. The language was just strange, and there was indoctrination. But I,
Tracy.
For the first time ever, I can't add any more. Again, I'm like, Marlon, you just keep picking these topics that's just making me angrier and angrier and angrier. I can't even fathom why the government, who we know brought drugs in from, uh, I was going to say Costa Rica, wrong country, Colombia, and those type of countries, and then turns around and makes them illegal. Oh, okay,
mhm.
that make sense to me because it doesn't. You're gonna make it illegal, but you're gonna bring in the very substance that you're saying is illegal. It doesn't make sense to me. I I understand it. Understand why they did it. It makes sense to make the black guy the bad guy. I mean, it's done today. Look at the false narrative about black crime. Black crime is terrible. Really? You know that when somebody gets killed, it's normally by a person of their wrong race. You do know. Nope, they just leave that out. Just totally leave that out. It's still happening today. And it still infuriates me because we, including black people, we're so easily buying into it. And it's like, I want to know how to make it stop. It may not get better in my lifetime, but at least there's got to be something I can do. I just wish I knew what it was.
All right. We're going to move on to Reagan's 1986 bill because this is the one I want Theus to talk the most about, because this is when we start getting more and more into where's the money coming from and going. So I want Theus' input on Reagan's 1986 crime bill.
In 1986, Congress passed the Anti-Drug Abuse Act, which also had very harmful implications for Black and brown communities. It created longer prison sentences for individuals who used crack cocaine, which was typically used by Black Americans, and shorter prison sentences for those who used powder cocaine, which was typically used by white Americans. For example, if a person had 5 grams of crack, it would trigger an automatic 5-year sentence. But a person had to have 500 grams of powder cocaine to trigger the same sentence. So these war on drug policies had a disproportionate impact on communities of color, because it wasn't just Black people using drugs. A lot of people were using drugs, people of all races and all backgrounds. But the presidential administrations in the United States disproportionately targeted and penalized Black and brown Americans for drug use, and penalizing them more severely than they did their white counterparts. To be clear, crack cocaine had a devastating impact on the Black community. It created addictions, deaths, and drug-related crimes, hamstringing many vibrant communities of color. But it is important to address why this was happening. There were huge structural changes happening within cities. This led to white flight, deindustrialization, loss of employment, rise of low-paying service jobs, and general urban blight. Many Black middle-class families also left the cities for the suburbs as well. The loss of jobs and services in the inner cities led to the growth of alternative economies. It also led to crime and social dislocation. And it was the combination of all of these social, economic, and political forces that contributed to the devastation of drugs on the Black urban community. It wasn't just individual failings. It wasn't culture.
So I misspoke. I misspoke on where the money and things come from. That's the next video, and it's gonna. No, man, I don't want to get into great detail. The next video will start putting more emphasis on the money going into this so-called fight. But again, as everybody have said again, over and over again, if you watch this show, this is again correct. You remove the money from the inner cities, crime rises. You now have an excuse to go in there. Circle of life. More police, more prosecutors, more judges. You're not going to fix, like we said, the reason why, which is poverty, because we all know if you fix that, the circle breaks. So you have the floor, Theus.
Well, I mean, only thing I can say for, there's a lot of people out there who, as they, bump into different aspects of history or are forced to pay attention to current events. And I'm like, part of the reason sometimes you may feel shocked is because you are still obsessed or addicted to trying to make friends out of enemies. I'm sorry, I'm a little more dour than normal, but I'm like, they look at the war on drugs. It came pretty much on the tail of what they had just experienced with prohibition. All the gang wars, all the violence, all the corrupt police officers, all of the families torn apart, all the blood in the street. That was white folk before they were all called white, right? Right. At that time, there were Italians and Scots and Irish and right. But it was still You took something, made it illegal. People wanted it. So there's a need. We glorify capitalism here. So if there's a need, someone will rise to fulfill said need. You can't figure out what to do with it. Ultimately, you figure it out. Well, let's tax it. All of a sudden, the alcohol thing, we still got problems with alcohol. We still got alcoholics. We still got people who can't keep a job down. We still got people abusing their families. We still got people dying in car accidents. We still got people getting in fights in bars. We still got we got rape. We got violence. We got all of those things. But now we can tax it, so we can call alcohol legal. But with drugs, and do that because they've created such a strong connection as far as marketing or whatever is concerned to tie anything criminalistic to being black, even though all the dark, crazy shit that we learn that shit from you. So it's just so, so yeah. War on drugs is really a money making process, and it's its own industry, and it's really sad when you kind of get into different aspects of how like the CIA and other organizations within the government, they need to be able to do things. There are things that the U.S. government does, and I would even make a case in some cases that the U.S. government has to do that we as U.S. citizens don't want to know about. Well, in order for that to be the case, sometimes they need money that's not going to be on the books. So that's how they enter into the drug game. That's why you have them doing things in Central America and South America, disrupting all those governments so that they can make sure that they can keep the drug thing moving. And then, yes, when the drugs come into America, they look the other way because that's just going to be their undesirables who are on the drugs anyway. And America is also one of the richest nations even back then. So you needed that money to move. And so it was our own government selling us the drugs to then go lock us up for the drugs. And then you can't have it both ways, right? You can't say on one hand that black people aren't intelligent and that we're dumb and that we're in our situation because we lack creativity and intelligence, and then turn around and say that we're the ones who develop crack. The ones selling the crack, more often than not, don't even have an education. So who taught them how to make this shit? You know, it's just smoke and mirrors, man. Smoke and mirrors. But the nature of this thing that we are dealing with is evil. And it's been evil. And you can't even shake me off of it. I was trying to be a grown up and moderate in certain aspects, but then here we are. We're going through it again, folks. Like right now. Going through it all over again. All we're hearing now is tough on crime, right? That's coming out of both sides, the Democrats and the Republicans. Tough on crime. It putting more money into the police force, but no accountability going with it. Who you think that's for? So I'm so through, man. I'm so through. But y'all go ahead and move forward, because I'll sit here and be angry. See, I'm not angry about what has happened. I'm angry about what's happening right now and what's about to happen. And so many of the people out there, not so much the ones watching the video, because I assume maybe you guys pay more attention, but just generally out there, and especially among my own people who have lived this shit, you have no idea what's happening and you don't even care. You don't know your history. Every time Marlon puts out a video like this, you learning stuff for the first time that your black ass should have known before. Or white people, y'all should have known this shit too, because y'all got the blood on your hands. Latinos, they've been living this shit too. America is a fucked up place. And people want to, they have this problem where it's like, oh my God, but it's because you've chosen not to learn. And people who have chosen not to learn their history are doomed to repeat it. And we're in another cycle.
It's just, I do these shows for a purpose. And I do these shows for the mere purpose of, like I said, that I was going to do Black History, but I was going to get off the whole Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Harriet Tubman and everything that everybody else does. No, I want to get into the deep dive of American history because of what this is said. Because the history that we fail or don't want to because it hurts feelings, it repeats itself over and over again. Last week, I just said it. We had a situation, and if you want to know what I'm talking about, fine, go look at the video when I said it. The stuff that we went through in the 1960s happened in the 1914s. And it just kept going.
And you know what makes me mad? Marlon, what makes me mad about all of this, which is why I'm so pissed off, which is why I'm mad at everybody right now, is because it's not just, you know what I'm saying, some shit we learn about history, and it's not just some stuff that's happening in another state. It's not just something that's happening somewhere over there or what have you. At the end of all of these stories is a life that is probably gone, and a life that can't be replaced, a life that has been cut short. We are talking about families torn apart. We are talking about kids who are being killed, and they never even got a chance to start their life. We're talking about little kids. I mean, they're catching it from all sides, man. And as adults, the least we could do is be aware of it.
Right.
But now we want to see what the hell's on TV or get stuck in some stupid ass game or
the past.
I don't know what weird debates we get into.
The past is the past. We're a whole lot better than what we used to be. And man, I done heard this crap so many times. It's etched into my brain.
I'm tired of people dying when they didn't have to.
And still are. But anyway, let's move on. We got a few more videos left, 3 actually. So this is the video where I'm saying, now here comes the money. Here comes the money. And how it was spent. This is Clinton's.
During the Clinton administration, the Violent Crime Control Act allowed for over $9 billion to be allotted for prison construction in the U.S. and $8 billion for 100,000 police officers. There was also an expansion of the federal death penalty, mandatory minimum sentencing, and truth in sentencing incentives to encourage states to advocate for harsher punishments without parole. This is also when the 3 strikes provision was promoted in the United States. This meant that a defendant might get a life sentence for almost any crime, no matter how minor, if they had 2 prior convictions that were considered a violent offense. All of these policies created a huge increase in incarceration for nonviolent drug offenses, going from 50,000 in 1980 to 400,000 in 1997. A disproportionate amount of these incarcerated folks were Black Americans. And after all this, the war on drugs didn't even decrease drug use.
When you purposely, and it's funny that I have to keep repeating this over and over again because the same thing keeps happening over and over again. So what do you expect? You're not going to get brand new ice cream on crap. When you target a certain group of people, you're going to get them. Again, when you target, when you focused on a certain group of people, you are going to get them. These bills, these acts, whatever you want to call it or use it, was targeted. That was, and it did what it was meant to do. Make minorities the bad guys. Make minorities the reason why America is not great again. That was his point. Hell of a good, did real damn good. For what the purpose of it was, nobody knows, because if you was actually trying to be factual about it, The drug crime bill, the war on drugs, the war on crime didn't do jack shit. And I got a video on that too. But if you want to use that bull crap, let's use it then. It didn't do crap. Drugs didn't go down, crime didn't go down, nothing went down. Nothing got better. The only thing that got better was more cops, more prosecutor, more judges, more weapons. That was
I have an unpopular position that I know it'd be a little shocking to a lot of people, but once a long time ago I heard someone say this to me, and I've taken it as pretty much as gospel. You know, racism is the poor man's war, right? And if you take that, and that can speak on so many different levels, but I'm gonna take it right here. Racism is the poor man's war. The real issue that continues to persist across America is poverty, access to resources, and who gets to control it. That's where it all lies. So if you look at it and you say, okay, why is it that Black people are disproportionately targeted by law enforcement? Yes, racism. Where do we get the racism from? Back in the 1600s, when they decided that we got to get the labor classes apart, and we got to say, hey, white people, no matter how bad you got it better than, you're still better than the Black people, no matter what they got, right? And so you pulled it apart, and racism was pretty much born out of that in a manner of speaking, but it was still economically driven. And everything that has moved forward has continued to be economically driven. So racism has created a number of structures and constructs, which has pushed our people into poverty because we were blocked from the economic opportunities to move forward. We just had a show about the 40 acres and a mule. Had that actually been taken care of, if that had actually been enforced, then there would have been a catch-up moment, right? Wouldn't have brought everybody square, but that's not what it was meant to do. It was supposed to bring people forward. That did not happen, so you lose ground. That's the 1860s. Then you move into Reconstruction. We didn't get the 40 acres and a mule, but we have the Freedmen's Bureau, the federal government in the South, making sure that the former slaveholders are not enslaving former slaves and allowing us to function. And we were getting out the mud. We were building whole communities, building businesses, taking care of ourselves and doing what we had to do. But then we had Black Flight that came out. The Great Migration came after that. And why did that happen? That was because the deal was struck by the federal government to remove the protections out of the South. And that pushed us right back into the new form of slavery, where they stole our land, they murdered our business owners, they murdered our politicians, they did all of these things. And that was when we fled and ended up in Michigan and Minnesota and places like that, New York, right? All that land was left behind that we had somehow managed to scrounge together. And for those of us who stayed in the South, they had the Jim Crow laws sitting there so that they could take your stuff that way. So the issue with America is it continues to obstruct because capitalism requires a bottom class. It requires it. So we were relegated to that position. Now, here's where a lot of Black folks who don't know some things are going to kind of perk up. We're largely irrelevant at this point, folks. So at this point, they have a new bottom class. That's the Latino community. So now they are being disappeared into the prison system, right? They're being killed and prosecuted and chased for drug issues and stereotyped for all of that. They are now who we were, but we are still not where we needed to be because of the obstructions that I just laid out to you. So what do you do with a population that you no longer need their labor and you do not want to be citizens? The only thing you can do is kill them and warehouse them. Where are our young men? Being killed in the streets or warehoused in prison. What do you hear from the police? We lock them up, you let them back out. So now all of a sudden, instead of just locking them up, you're killing them. So we are in a really bad position, folks. Black folk, I wish we had paid more attention over the last 30 years, because now the only way I see coming out of this is we have to build these temporary alliances with people who don't give a fuck about us. But if we don't at least do that, the path for us is very clear. We will become just like the Native American. We will be here, but we'll be a shell of who we are, pushed into the shadows, abused, and no one cares. The indigenous people of this country, those who cannot pass as white, catch hell, and nobody blinks an eye. That's where we're headed. So it's this whole thing. And then, I mean, I'm not going to get into the other stuff, but yeah, it all comes together, man. It all comes together. It all plays into the same pot.
All right, let's move on to the last two videos. So let's go ahead and get the elephant out of the room, because I done heard it several times over. That why we complain about it, why the Black community complain about the crime bill, the war on drugs, and anything else. Why is the Black community complaining about it when we're the ones that asked about it? Just like everything else that the Black community say, you twist exactly what we was asking for.
Some people pushed back against the criticism of the war on drugs and the subsequent consequences of mass incarceration by saying that Black Americans supported it. But that sort of take is rooted in kind of misremembering the past. As the scholars Elizabeth Hinton, Jolili Kohler-Hausman, and Veshla M. Weaver have written, calls for tough sentencing and police protection were paired with calls for full employment, quality education, and drug treatment, and criticism of police brutality. It's not just that those demands were ignored completely. It's that some elements were elevated and others were diminished. When Blacks ask for better policing, legislators tend to hear more instead.
Get it? Do you get it? We asked for something. You heard what you wanted to hear. And I can't come up with a better analogy of what old boy said. We said better policing. Better. You heard more.
And they still hear more.
And you still hear more. And you're still throwing money for more.
Now, I'm not a police abolitionist. So for those out there who like to say that we need to get rid of the police, I'm not with you guys. I could probably ride with you to an extent because you're heading in the right direction. But no, we don't need to abolish the police. I do think we need to severely change them, which is what is being put out there, right? Like in my view, you would no longer have as many street cops because they don't do nothing anyway, right? Half the time they're contributing to the crime because they're so poorly paid that they make money doing dark stuff anyway. What I would rather see is you got traffic cops, you got your drug interdiction cops, the ones who travel the highways trying to catch some things. Everybody will become more specialized, right? You'd have your SWAT type people. You have the people who do the social work and mental health interdiction, right? And you can be the same cop doing multiple of those things. Be trained for it. I don't give a rat's ass, but specialize these people so they're not just wandering around bored trying to find, gut ideas of how to make a community safer. Because the gut's going to tell you, well, if we just scare everybody, they'll behave better. And that's not how it works. Because if you scare people, they fight back. That's what happens. So, yeah. But yeah, the police, they're part of the problem. But I think the police also get a bad shake because we're so focused on them that we don't even look at the district attorneys and the judges. Like, they're above reproach. You want to talk about qualified immunity. Police have qualified immunity, which allows them to pretty much get away with most anything. But the district attorneys, the prosecuting attorneys, and the judges, they have absolute immunity. It does not matter what they do to you. You can't do anything to them. The worst that can happen is they can lose their job. There is no criminal consequence to anything they do. And that's not me saying hyperbolic stuff. That's the rule.
No, that's
So
the worst you
there's
can
a
do
lot
to
of
them
stuff
is
that need to
fire
be
them.
worked on.
And look, here's the funny thing about it. The worst you can do is fire them. The best you can do is rehire them. Seen it. I've seen judges who were fired, which you might as well say suspended, who's right back on the bench the next year, if not 6 months from the time. 6 months, why? Because we forgot what they did that was so horrific.
Yep.
So last video, and this is the numbers and everything else, and I'm going to drop it to Tracy and Anna to take us into the second hour. But basically, the war on drugs was a failure.
Most experts today agree that the war on drugs was a failure. It didn't decrease the number of drugs used in many communities, and it actually had some pretty awful consequences. It was a catalyst that produced the carceral state, a term that, in part, describes the billions of dollars the U.S. government filters into the criminal justice system, which disproportionately affects people of color. That money goes to the budgets of police, sheriffs, judges, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and even prison staff. Here are some of the stats of what the war on drugs actually did. One FBI study noted that while blacks represented only 12% of all illegal drug users, they made up 41% of those arrested on cocaine and heroin charges. Women, disproportionately black women, are the fastest growing incarcerated population in the United States. Since 1970, America's incarcerated population has increased by 500%, resulting in over 2 million people in jail and prison today. And despite being only 5% of the global population, the U.S. contains roughly 20% of the world's prison population. According to studies, today, black and white people use and sell illicit drugs at similar rates, but black people are roughly 2.6 times more likely to get arrested for drug crimes. And I've seen this firsthand. I've taught in prisons where young men have been locked up for doing the same things that some of my white college classmates did. The difference is that one group was targeted and another group wasn't. And oftentimes, that's what decides who ends up in a prison and who ends up free.
So I'll leave it up to Tracy and Anna to take us into the second hour.
Anna, you don't want to go first? Oh boy. What can I say? I mean, I don't cuss, so that's not an option. In this rare case, I wish I did because it seems appropriate. This is the type of stuff that makes it seem appropriate. I'm not surprised. I'm still mad, and I'm still wondering the same thing I did before. What is it that I can do? There's got to be something that I can do. And I'm not thinking about it, or I haven't thought about it. I haven't put my mind to it. Because this is ridiculous. I mean, we have we have the prison, we have the preschool to prison pipeline, and nobody seems concerned about it. Nobody seems to be concerned that they're building more and more prisons. They're throwing money. But there are some police forces that have larger police budgets than some small countries. Totally. Are we serious with this? Are we serious with this? We have to recognize and be more, those of us who have podcasts that tend to lean left, have to be more focused on bringing these type of issues up, because this is utterly ridiculous. It's it's like the government is purposely setting up black people to fail. And that's the thought that keeps, I know, Thieves, don't give me that look, Thieves. Don't give me that look. I know. But it's just like, it's so, if it wasn't clear to me before, it's clear to me now. It's like, why is it that you want me as a black woman to fail? Everybody else can succeed, but you focus in on black people. That's what, I get it. I don't understand it, and I don't have to like it. And I know that makes no sense to anybody else, but those are all my convoluted thoughts coming together in one train.
I've said this to Foxy, and I don't even know what the subject we was on. Black people don't accomplish; they overcome. And it's been like that since the beginning. Whatever time frame you want to use, whatever. Black people don't accomplish things in this country. We overcome things in this country.
Problem with that, and I've often said similar, so this isn't, is putting the onus on us. It's not that black people overcome; we're just surviving, right? White people obstruct. Turn it on its head. It's who is taking a direct action. If you can look at what is causing the action and remove that player, and it no longer occurs, that is the source of your attention, right? You could take black people and say, okay, what if we decided that we're going to live in our own communities and build our own businesses and only interact with each other? Would that work? History shows you no. Okay. Well, what if black people change how they walk, how they talk? They just try not to cause no trouble. They don't look white people in the eye. They get off the sidewalk if a white people coming. We say yes sir, no sir, all that stuff. We make sure we're always in suits if we can afford to get a suit, even if it's an old tacky suit. We put on a suit. Will that help? History says no. Well, what if we band together and we actually start to assert our rights, and we take it to the courts, and we take it to the courts of public opinion, and we take it to the streets and we protest? Would that work? History shows you no. What if I hold my hands up? What if I lay down? What if I sit down? What if I run? What if I stand still? What if I call for my mama? Would that help? History says no. Who is the aggressor on each of those occasions? I'm tired of people not looking at where the fucking problem is. The problem is the bully. The bully stops being a bully, then you can look at other variables, right? Then you can start saying, well, maybe there is a work ethic issue. Maybe there is a laziness issue. Maybe there's something criminalistic. You can start looking at all these other variables if you stop the main one first. The only thing that's going to address this, and it would be disastrous, is the one thing that we dare not say. But it's what they want so bad. They, large they, not they, individual theys. They're itching for the fight. Why do you think they have all those guns? Who are they afraid of? Who have they been taught to be afraid of? Why are they so afraid of this 2040, whatever number is? The Browning of America. Who taught them to be afraid of that? What is it that they're afraid of? I've heard a few former racists speak, and they tell you where the conversations are. They are deathly afraid that when they're no longer the majority and they no longer have a firm hold on the power, that they will be treated the way that they have treated others. And so out of that fear, they have to keep everybody else suppressed. Even if they don't want to cause you harm, they fear what the consequences could be for their children and their grandchildren. Even though history has shown we do not do that to you. We literally, every time we've had the opportunity to do that, somebody in our own circle snitched on us. Or we just didn't do it. The safest place for white people to be is around black folk. Most dangerous place for black people to be is around white folk. There's something wrong there.
That reminds me of a story, and then we're going to go into the second. Unless, Anna, you have anything to say?
What I will add to that is just that, as Tracy was asking, what can we do? And you're right, there are not a whole lot of podcast people or YouTube people who talk about crime continuously. I can give you a name right now. Kim Brown. Bring it down with Kim Brown. She keeps up with these stories all across the US. She has people who are on the ground, and you can keep yourself informed. And now I know these people that are right here, we're hyper informed.
That is super exhausting.
And I would also say support Black businesses. I learned about a seed company, Sister Seeds. Sister spelled like SISTAH. And this woman is trying to bring back a bit of her culture and has seeds that you don't find anywhere else. And it's a part of the Afro-Caribbean culture of food. Certain foods that are dying out. So, beyond that, really, I wish everybody would look towards their own community and ask, what can I do right here at home? So that's just what I would add.
Thank you. Let me just tell you this story real quick, piggybacking off what Thea was saying. And I don't know if it's funny or more ironic or anything else. There was another police shooting where I live. It was years ago, but you couldn't tell the difference even if you tried. So it's very vague of what I'm finna say, but the story isn't. There was another police shooting and thus another protest. And it was happening around a certain time downtown. And where I was parked, that was a couple of blocks, 3 or 4 blocks away from where I was working. And one of the people who worked there with me was Caucasian, was white. And I'm finna time to go. So maybe 15 minutes before it's time to go, they came to me and said, are you sure you don't want me to drive you down to the your vehicle? Are you sure you don't want me to, just make sure that you get to it? I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'll be okay. Don't worry about it. So 5 minutes before it's time to go, they come back again. Are you absolutely sure that you don't want me to drive you? Are you sure? Are you going? I just want to make sure that you're safe down there. And it was this close. It was this close for me telling that person, look, between you and me, I'm the safest person walking the street. They're not after me. I didn't do anything. I'm fine. In other words, I want to make sure that I'm not seen with you. So I would be okay. You need to leave like now. Like, I know you're big on 9 to 5 and you ain't leaving the 5. You need to go now.
Mr. Marlon.
Yes.
Even in those moments of unrest,
Mm-hmm.
how many white folks actually have been killed or seriously harmed in a black protest or riot? I'm not saying nobody gets hurt, but we have been well trained. Don't touch them. So even with us being mad, plus whenever we are having an uprising, they with us. So
I'm good.
even in those situations, I mean, I get what you're saying. But I'm just saying, old boy was still safer than you. Because when the police roll up, they weren't going to think they're going to think you were part of the problem. They're going to think he was part of the problem. That's the other side of it. So I get what I mean, I'm not taking away from what you were saying. I'm just saying, old boy probably was still safer than you.
I felt good. Heck, I got more high fives going down to the street. But I get what you're saying. You're correct. Ain't nobody gonna touch you.
Yeah, ain't nobody gonna touch him. Because the police will try to investigate that one. Whether or not they solve it, that ain't necessarily the same. But they will at least try to figure out what happened. And then, whole nother thing, just to draw a real stark contrast here. We have had countless people be killed by the police, extrajudicial killing by the police. We have had a lot of things happening just person against person, right? A lot of crimes happen every day that we don't even know much about. What did we just watch wall-to-wall coverage of? Well, I don't even know how long that was. Was it a week? Something like that? Got Netflix specials, Hulu specials, and wall-to-wall coverage about some rich white guy who murdered his family.
Oh, okay. You're right. I didn't even watch.
You don't get that coverage for police officers who killed somebody. You don't get that coverage for the last time we had coverage anywhere near that was Ahmaud Arbery when he was lynched.
Yeah.
We don't live in the same country, man.
All right. Well,
sorry, but I know we need to move into happier moments now.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, did anybody have an answer for Parker's question?
I couldn't see it, so I don't know.
What was the
president? Which president?
He found the answer.
He found it.
Yeah, he found his own answer to his own question. I think he said was Hayes was the president that lifted.
No, I thought he asked our opinion
Oh,
of
which
which.
one was worse,
Oh,
Nixon, Reagan? Yeah, we skipped that. Yeah, we skipped that.
Reagan and Clinton in that order.
Um, you got to give Reagan the number one slot. He just took it to a whole nother level.
You saying who was worse, Reagan or
Yeah, who was
who?
worse on the war on
Oh,
drugs?
I'm
Reagan,
sorry.
Clinton.
Reagan, Clinton, or
Which
Nixon?
administration do you all think was the worst in terms on the war on drugs and expanding the prison population? Reagan, Clinton, or Nixon?
I don't know that I could pick one, to be honest with you. That's
I, I,
you got me trying to pick between three
I mean,
devils.
you can't say
I
Nixon
mean,
because he wasn't president long enough to do nothing.
see, my answer, what
well,
I
no,
said
well,
was,
Nixon was making sure that the draft continued to disproportionately pull out of the black community. Nixon was also the one who got the ball rolling on the hypercriminalization of a new round of hypercriminalization, right? So he's bad. And then you got Reagan,
Boy, he took
who
it to a whole
basically
another level.
he was yeah he was a pretty bad thing, but he focused more on economics and would use economics to hide his to mask his racism. And then you got Clinton. I'm not a big fan of Clinton, but I do try to look at it and not leap to always going like what a lot of people did, 94 crime bill. And is because he was on the tail end of something that was already moving. So,
yeah, and that's why I
you
said
know,
Reagan.
Yeah, I
That's why I
gotta
said
go with
Reagan
Reagan.
and
you got me
Clinton.
trying to pick between three devils, and I just
Yeah,
can't do it. And I'm not saying like devils like Elijah Muhammad called all white people devils. No, I'm saying that a person or a thing is known by its characteristics and behaviors. So if I look at your characteristics and behaviors and they are devilish, then you are a devil. That's individualized. Those three people are very devilish. So it's hard for me. I can't pick one.
you can't pick one.
You know?
See, the only
I
reason
can say, fortunately, we had an intermission, even though he became the so sad. Jimmy Carter was the intermission.
It was not his
He was
fault
a
that Reagan was out here selling
he was
weapons for
a
hostages.
decent person. He was
And
a
we said
decent
no.
person. What happened?
I'm laughing at what you just said, Jimmy Carter. He was
Right, but he was like an intermission,
he
right?
was. That's
Like
why I'm laughing at
all
it. He
this
was
horrible
the
stuff.
intermission.
Then we
Then
got a
you
good break. Then we said,
then you
nah, we
get
ain't on
Jimmy,
that.
right? And then Jimmy has he's silly enough to be like, I'm just gonna be honest with you. No, Jimmy, don't be honest. Nope,
No,
I'm
be
gonna be
honest.
honest.
We need honest president.
No, but as soon as he was honest, he became the worst president
President.
in modern history for being honest. He
Honesty is
basically was
not
like,
a
yo,
bad thing. It's just people can't
it is.
handle the truth.
I agree, but I'm saying the consequence for him being honest is not the same
It wasn't
as the
his fault.
consequence of these other people playing the game.
Reagan
You
was
are
selling
doing that
weapons
one.
for hostages. That was not his fault.
That was Bush, but Reagan was using it to get in office. But it was Bush. That's how it was all timed
And
the
who
way it
was
was.
Reagan's vice president again?
Exactly.
That's where we get
So,
Irene Contra from. And
because
Manuel Noriega.
what was Daddy Bush's job before he was the vice president? CIA
CIA
director.
director.
CIA, baby.
So it just so happens
And
that
Nancy Reagan
CIA
appearing on
activities.
different strokes. I can't believe that. That whole just say no. Don't start me.
But then that's why I say with Clinton, out of the three, I give him less of a hard time because yes, his ink is on that crime bill, but I remember being a young person in 88 to 94. I mean, Bloods, Crips, Vice Lords, GDs. I mean, drive-bys everywhere. It was horrible. Horrible.
It was bad.
Right? So
It was You go
That's
to
not to
you
excuse it.
go to sleep every night
Excuse
you
it.
go to sleep every night listening to gunshots.
Right. And that's not to excuse it, but it's kind of like small. We use little small ones that are more current, right? Yeah, here in Atlanta, when that police officer murdered that man in the Wendy's parking lot because he fell asleep, and when they woke him up, he was disoriented, so they killed him.
Yeah,
Right?
we
And
woke him
then,
up.
but they killed him. Then the city falls apart. Is protests, all of that. That Wendy's area became a no-go zone for police. Like, don't come up in here because we gonna do something to you. Don't come up in here. And for all of maybe a week, it was peaceful. It was almost being held by these progressives and young people as like, see, look, we don't need the police. We don't need the police. But what came in right behind them? The drug dealers and the violent people. So if you don't want the police in your business, don't do the stuff that brings them to you. Right now, we got the situation where they're carjacking all over the place, right? It's in isolated pockets, but you're giving your enemy what they need to now crack down on you and treat everybody like a criminal. And that's similar to what was happening in the crime bill era. It was not the vast majority of good people. It was the people who were just intent on exploiting a situation and doing bad things. I got no love for parasites. If you feeding off of your own community and causing them harm, you need to go. They need to lock your little ass up.
Yeah. All right, we had at the very least 11 people watching the show. I don't know how many is left now, so I'm gonna assume that y'all are new.
My fault.
Well, is it you? Okay, it's Thea's fault that we have 11 people watching the show because
That's
he's
good.
that popular, and that's why.
No, because you said
11.
the drop off, Marlon.
Oh, they're taking a break. They'll be back.
Marlon.
So I don't know who's. Don't do that because it sounds too close to Martin. So
Marcus Darling.
yuck, yuck. So if
But
you
she
are
was wearing
new,
that little nighty thing that she had on. I was like, girl, you do that.
so
Just saying, man.
Can I go? Y'all, okay, here's the deal. I don't want to get to 12 o'clock and y'all sit there. It's Sunday now, Marlon. So
You're right. I do need to get some water because my throat is irritating.
Try to go. So, again, I don't know who's new here, but if you are new here, that is such an a-hole. That is our new hour. That is our first hour. Our second hour is more lighter, so to speak, because we do a lot of heavy stuff during our first hour. So the second hour, what we do is we will take a 3-minute break for everybody to reboot, refresh, get you a new drink and whatever, go to the bathroom, exhale after giving you all this that we've given you for the first hour, and just reset yourself. Not for you, Tracy. Sorry. Nope.
I gotta get some water.
I ain't gonna do that. That irritated me when my mom used to say it when I was little. So we're gonna take a 3-minute break to reboot and refresh, and we will see you all on the other side for a worst person of the year candidate and Foxy's videos of the year of the week. Stay tuned. Let's see, I need a break. Rejoicing, We are back for the second hour of Saturday Night Vibe. But before we even get started, let's go ahead and pay those bills. Radical Truth to Power will be tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have absolutely no idea what our subject may be. Not a clue. Please do not forget to go to patreon.com/a better Tracy media page. Help support Tracy in all of her endeavors. Please do not forget to go to patreon.com/complex mind. Help support Theus in all of his endeavors. Please do not forget to go to patreon.com/radical truth to power, exactly where it's spelled, capital R, capital T, capital T, capital P. Help me support me in all my endeavors. Please do not forget to go to Etta Hart's website, Borelli, etc.com. Learn something that you didn't think you need to know, but you should. And as always, if you want to drop me any line, any Mafia videos of the week, like Anna did twice, that's radtp@outlook.com. That's radtp@outlook.com. That was pretty freaking good. All right. Susan, to help answer your question, can we make a group nomination for Worst Person of the Year? Yes, and this is what I've done because I messed up last year, so to speak. I started doing Worst Person of the Year too close to the end of the year. So when I had Worst People of the Year, it was either new people that I was discovering at the time or going by memory. And by that time, I had like, so for instance, we are on episode 70. So going by memory, just this year, episode 70. So by the time I even remember, hey, these people are really terrible individuals. Maybe I should make a Worst Person of the Year. By that time, I have forgotten who all the worst people were. So I did change the formatting. That not only am I having the worst people of the year? The worst people of the year is actually also in a folder that I am holding to maybe October or November. I will discuss with the group when we need to start narrowing down and putting these people in the category, because they suck rocks, but they may not be on the cusp of saying they are the worst of the year. They suck, they're bad, they're terrible individuals. And maybe at that time I was emotional with, F you, you're the worst person of the year. And then the group comes back and go, Marlon, we've heard a whole lot worse. So they'll drop off the list. All that to say, yes, we will actually have the Mafia group give the names and the titles and who you think should be nominated as the worst person of the year. Like I said, as a group, we will figure out, should we start it in October or November, so we can make sure that we have the winner by New Year's. So we can actually keep it clean and say worst person of the year. Marlon, black farmers, black landowners. Is that a question or a statement? I don't know what that means. You're muted.
She may have been responding to something that was happening when she was typing.
Oh, okay. I vote European fascist. That is a group way too large to vote for, and honestly, they will probably win every freaking year that we're on the air. Just had Marjorie Taylor Greene as a permanent person on the list for every year that she's again. That will be a person every freaking year. Tracy, if you're talking, you're muted or something.
I said nominate her for the Lifetime Achievement Award.
That works.
Either her, Boebert, or Ted Cruz. One of them three. Oh, Matt Gaetz. I forgot about Matt Gaetz.
Now I have a problem with her whole secession thing, because personally, I'm actually okay if America does go through a complete and total breakup. Just let us get out first. But is she really as bad as we make her out to be? I mean, she is bad. She's a horrible, horrible, horrible person. But is she any worse than the ones who quietly vote for the garbage that keeps happening? At least she's loud and dumb with it, But I guess in a way she's giving license to other dumb people outside of the system.
I don't know. That is my point about Marjorie Taylor Greene,
who was 18 years old, who had just saw his classmate be shot, and she harasses him down the street. I've seen a lot of Republicans do some foul things, but that one, oh no, she topped my list for that alone.
Is that worse than the Republicans who continue to vote to keep from any gun reform happening? I would rather someone follow me up and down the street every day getting on my nerves than stand in the way and have more people dying because of indecision or active decision.
And it's not like Marjorie Taylor Greene put any policies or procedures, because she can't.
Well, she couldn't. Now she can.
That woman ain't smart enough to put a freaking.
Oh, she's smart because she knows how to play off her base.
No, and
if she wasn't smart, she wouldn't have gotten reelected.
Being very good at being a card artist is not the same thing as being very smart. She's a card artist.
But she knows
her
base.
Stop playing your enemy short, man. Stop taking these people and thinking that they're dumb. They're not dumb. Trump isn't dumb. Marjorie's not dumb. Gates is not dumb. Dumb people get caught up and punished for stuff that they do. These jokers are smart enough to get the right people around them, get the right dirt on other people, to be able to survive the crap that they do. They gotta stop underestimating your enemy, man.
Oh. What's the subject for tomorrow?
But that's what she was saying, black farmers.
Black land ownership. Ooh, I gotta go deep.
Yeah, we were basically on 2% of the land in America, isn't that something?
That's some deep researching on that one.
A whole
Okay.
2%.
She calls herself a Christian nationalist and says that Iran Omar and Rashid Tlaib were involved in the Muslim invasion into. Yeah. You notice
Because if
how
it's white, it's all right.
you notice how I changed my stance, and I haven't did it on this show. I don't think when I say Christian and real Christian.
I don't separate them
I do.
until the real Christians stand up. I don't separate them.
Yeah. No.
Everybody want to be real until it's time to have to do something. What would your Jesus do? Would he do what you're doing? To all the real Christians out there, would he be doing what you're doing? Would he be voting the way that you vote? Would he be treating people the way you treat them? Would he be walking the way that you walk, talk the way that you talk? To all the real Christians, not the fake one.
It ain't even 11 o'clock yet. All right, without further ado, before we get into a whole new slew of things, you see how effed up America is that we can come up with any subject out of anywhere? Notice that on this show? If you're new here, we're real good at it. We're very good at taking any subject and making a whole diatribe of it. We're very good at it. But am I the a-hole? Again, if you're new to the show, I think I explained it a little bit when I was answering Susan's question. We have, as the year goes on, the worst person of the year. It is amazing to me that it's just March, and so far we have 3. And Theus, you haven't got a chance to see who was number 2. You did see who was number 1. I think I erased the video before you got back. So I don't think you saw who was number 2. I'm going to have to put that on tomorrow for you to watch it. So if you're new to the show, I always show people who was just the worst and everything else. We discuss among ourselves, should they go on the list? If they that bad, they go on the list. And again, we've changed it where we'll all vote by the end of the year who goes down as the worst person of the year. So here is my nomination for the next candidate for worst person of the year.
Our next Reddit post is from Admirable Spirits. I'm an 18-year-old woman, and I've been with my boyfriend, who's 20, for almost 2 years. I moved in with him late August, and things have been pretty rocky. My whole life, I've struggled with my mental health, specifically depression, anxiety, and self-harm. I've been clean for a while though. I also have a history of trauma, but I don't need to get into that. I made sure that my boyfriend knew this when we started dating because I wanted him to be able to nope out of this relationship if that was too much for him to deal with. He assured me that it wasn't an issue. He never really seemed to get the whole mental health thing though. He would make comments saying stuff like, depression is just spicy sad, and people with trauma should just get over it. He also thinks that only veterans can get PTSD. I've tried explaining things to him, but he just brushes me off, so I do the best to ignore him. Recently, he started watching a couple prank channels on YouTube, and he started pranking me. At first, it was just small things, like putting way too much flavor in my water or salt in a bite of my food. I laughed it off. It didn't really bother me. But then, he started jumping out and scaring me. This kind of stuff really affects me sometimes because of my PTSD, and I tried to explain that to him. He would apologize, but then just do it again the next day. I was getting annoyed and frustrated, but I tried to let it be. Things escalated last week when he put some noisemakers under the toilet seat in the middle of the night. I woke up to go to the bathroom, sat down, and boom! It being late at night, me being half awake, and the loud noise all mixed together, it gave me a full-blown panic attack. I was on the bathroom floor crying and having flashbacks. Afterwards, I don't know how long I stopped crying, and I was just staring into space, having flashbacks. He came into the bathroom because I guess he noticed that I was gone for a while. When he saw me sitting on the floor, he remembered his little prank and started laughing. I just stared at him for a second, got up, and called him a douchebag. I slept in the living room for the rest of the night. The next day, I sat him down and told him that he cannot keep scaring me like this. No more jumping out at me, no more loud noises. He pretty much sighed and rolled his eyes, but he said that he would stop. Everything was fine for a week, and I thought this whole prank thing was finally over. Yesterday, I got home from being out with a friend, actually feeling better for the first time in a while. When I walked in the house, all the lights were off, so I assumed that he was still at work, which isn't abnormal because sometimes he works late. I plugged my phone in because it died on my way back home, and when it powered on, I got a notification that he sent me a text. It just read, "So sorry, I love you." I replied saying, "It's okay, I'll see you when you get home. Love you." Then I heard his phone ding in the bathroom. Oh no, please don't tell me this is going where I think it's going. That was weird, I thought. I got up to go get his phone, and when I got into the bathroom, I saw him laying in the bathtub. The bath was full of water, there was an empty bottle of pills on the sink, and he was covered in blood. His wrists were cut, and there was just so much blood. My heart just sank. I started having a panic attack. I was hyperventilating, crying, and I was just frozen. After a minute, I ran to the living room to get my phone to call 911, and I heard splashing and then laughter. I turned around to see him standing in the hallway just laughing. He said, "Got you. You should have seen the look on your face." I don't even know how to describe the feelings that I was experiencing. I was so mad and sad and scared. I didn't even say anything. I just walked out of the house. I just kept walking, and eventually I figured I had to call my friend to come get me. At first, I didn't tell her what happened. I just told her I needed her to come get me because it was an emergency. She came and took me back to her house where I'm at now. My boyfriend keeps calling me and sending me texts saying that he was sorry and it's just a joke and I'm overreacting and I need to come home. I am not answering. I don't even know what I would say to him. My friend is going over to his house tomorrow to get my things when he's at work. She said that I can stay with her however long I need. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I just feel numb.
I'm gonna literally let anybody else talk because I'm gonna tell you right now what I got to say is a little long, but I'm gonna mute myself, and whoever wants to unmute and say something, go right ahead.
Hold on. Is this a wait? But
No,
it
it's
gets
not.
worse.
It's not.
Because I'm like this teetering right on it.
Nope. If it is, I haven't found it. So
I'm not going to have a comment considering that I just buried my niece from suicide. So excuse me for that.
I'm gonna give Parker what he wants. What's wrong with people? You nitwit. She asked you. Don't scare her. She has PTSD. And you just ha 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 ha. Well, she should. And you know what she said? She felt better when she wasn't around him. Clue, girl, run. Don't you go back to him. Don't you go back to him. He is a losing little impetuous brat. Let him do something to me like that. I'll give you something to laugh at. Oh, you'll be laughing, you'll be crying. Little runt. Pardon my language. Runt is a bad word to me. I'm sorry, it is.
that's it.
Oh, I can say more, but she needs to leave him. Don't go back. He'd have said so. First time he did it, I'd have been gone. Then he literally unfaked unalived himself. Or you say, what's funny about that? What makes that a funny thing? I know what I'll do. I'll get some pills, empty him out, get in the bathtub, that's not funny. That's not funny. Hey, little boy, grow up. Shut up. Girl, leave. Leave him. Don't go back. Get you somebody else. He ain't worth it. No, 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 no. This is automatic breakup. Automatic. He doesn't care about your PTSD. He obviously thinks that you just gonna take it back. Don't go back to him. Don't go back to him ever. I don't care how many times he apologizes. Yes, you should forgive him because I am about forgiveness. But that don't mean you gotta go back to him. That does not mean you have to go back to him. And now I'm done.
Someone in love would not do this. So,
Tracy hit on what I was going to say, and I'm going to make mine a little short. What's the fucking joke? Explain to me. The deal is when somebody says a racist joke, one of the things that you can always do to them and say, I don't get it, explain it. And let them see what it is that they're actually saying behind the hee hee ha ha. So, young dude, I want you to explain to me what's the prank. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say suicide is funny? Is that what you was doing? Are you trying to say if you fake suicide to somebody that loves you, that's funny? Just explain it. Because I got friends who ain't coming back for it. Didn't think any of them was funny. Let's be realistic, bro. Let's just be realistic. Just put the cards on the table. You honestly don't give a fuck about this little girl. You didn't from the beginning. I don't know what it is about her that you was just so struck with her that you wanted her in your life, but you really don't give a damn about her. You never did. Depression is just spicy sadness. You need to get over it. You don't care. You just one of those individuals that wanted somebody in their life, but your whole mentality is stricken on the fact that you are everything can be willed away. Everything you just need to be tough to get over it, or fact basically get over it. Cowboy up, man up. That's your whole mentality on anything. So, no, I don't think she's coming back. I have no reason. I have absolutely no clue of a reason why she should come back. She set you down after the little bathroom incident and told you that you need to stop. What's the first thing that you do? You rolled your eyes. Because you already had this plan in the works. So again, I ask you, what's funny? What was so funny about that joke? What was hilarious? Because anybody else with a heart, a mind, and a soul would see that suicide is never, ever funny. The reason I did that was because I was timing myself to put it in more perspective for your dumb ass to understand. During that whole speech, we just lost 2 more people to suicide. Laugh your ass out of that one. Bruh, if you don't get your shit together, you're going to be alone for a very long time. And if you don't get your shit together, it's going to be well deserved. No love lost. I could give a rat's ass if you are or not. You deserve everything that's coming your way. Foxy's videos of the week. I don't know as of lately of the last one I showed you was, and I can't remember her name. What's the black lady that like to hang out with Kanye? Okay.
Candace Owens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Last week I
Candace.
showed a little Candace Owens little stupidity about her wishing that she was staying in her grandfather's day, cause why not? Then I go and find another one who y'all are just not realistic.
Unpopular opinion, part 4. I wish that I lived in the 1940s.
You know, I think it's unpopular for a reason. You know, because in the 1940s, an opinion is one of the many things that you wouldn't have had.
Y'all don't think. Y'all really don't think.
That's only going to get worse because they don't know their history, and they're not even going to be taught it.
On purpose.
So
next up on the agenda. Only reason I even found this funny is because I kind of don't know, and I know it's a parody, folks. I know this is not realistic. So we're just gonna put that out there that I know it's not realistic. But it is a parody that I have been seeing lately. I don't know exactly what you expect from your parents when you finally come out the closet to tell them that you're gay. And you're not getting the answer that you was expecting or wanting or whatever. But here we go.
Mom, Dad, I'm gay.
Hi, gay. I'm Dad.
I'm one of them queers.
It's time.
I'm gay. And transgender. I'm a little bit fruity. I'm gay.
Nice.
I like men. Also, I am a man.
On it.
I'm gay.
Aww.
Well, y'all may be used to the stories of I came out the closet and my family just lost their ever loving mind. Trust me, I literally just heard a story of a father who And yes, I'm gonna play it because if it got on my nerves, it's gonna get on y'all nerves too. I'm not gonna be on the one who nerves is on edge. But basically, it was the father who just like let's just say, dude, back up off your son. He loves you, you love him, but let him be his own man, and you're just it's hard to even tell the story without telling the story. But either way, it's not and I'm speaking for terms of the stories that I read. I don't know this by saying it's fact. But the coming out of the closet and telling who you identify with and who you are is just not every parent is going to lose their crap.
I'm pretty sure
half the time the doggone parent already knew.
Yeah, that's just one of those things. Like, I don't know. I can't speak for that community, but coming out it's just not as big a deal as it used to be. It just ain't. You know, society is now more welcoming of you being whoever you are. But the the difficulty of dealing with your social circle, your family circle, that has remained unchanged. So if you are part of a family that is that intolerant, you kind of know that. And so, yeah, I mean, so I'm not taking away from coming out is probably still a big deal. I mean, it's no, not even probably, it is still a big deal because you have to now embrace, or you have reached the point where you feel that you have to embrace that you're not like everybody else, right? So once you divert from the pack, so to speak, you will never be treated exactly the same. Hopefully, you'll be treated in a whole new way that is more about you and just accepting of you. But you don't know until it happens. It's kind of like being a reformed Christian, right? You know, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you've ever grown up in a very, very close, I mean, it's not the same because, you know, Christianity is religion, period, is a choice. But it's that situation of you're going up against your social crew, right? And you think you may know, they may be tolerant, but it's still life won't be necessarily the same as before. Whether it's because you had built false expectations of how people were going to react to you, or people reacted to you.
Yeah. My
Personally,
middle
I'd been pissed if my parents did that mess with me. Now, some of them might have been like, all right, whatever. Because you know your parents. You know your parents. But that one where they just started turning on doing the glow sticks and the music and stuff. I'm like, oh, so now we caricatures? We stereotyping out
that
here?
was
That's
the
what
one
we
you
doing
was
right
mad at?
now?
That was the one you was mad at? I was mad at the bet.
Huh?
I was mad at the bet.
Oh, I couldn't tell what happened from, bad eyesight. So to me, it looked like they just did a high five.
No, they was betting each other. It's like you're muted. Let's see if I can do it.
No, she has to unmute herself.
She has to unmute herself. Yeah.
Yeah, Anna, you're muted.
Me? What?
Okay. Got you. We got you now.
Yes, coming out it's a big deal. No matter even if you know your parents, it's still a big deal. And It's either do you present
I think we have her internet. Remember, she has some internet issues, so it's lagging on her.
She is frozen.
Yep.
But anyway, to answer your question, Parker, did one of them have the parents passing money to each other like they made a bet? Yeah, that was the part that made me upset. That you're betting on my life. Like,
none of it made me upset, but because I knew it was all a big parody, like you
yeah,
said.
I know it was a parody, but it was like, dude, are you serious with this? Let's take Anna down, so see if her stuff comes back.
And then also, I mean, since we're doing it off of the parody and everything, right? I mean, what if he knows he got silly ass parents? So
if it's a parody, he got silly ass parents. That was
no, but I'm saying like if part of the whole thing, like if we're taking it more serious, if you know you got silly ass parents, then they might do some of those silly things. Because it's like it's it's cutting the tension,
yeah.
right? And if you were raised up in that family, then you would have just been like, "Oh, come on, mom, come on, dad," So you don't know. The dynamics could be different.
All right. Well, here's the last video of the night, and before anybody lose their crap, Anna back. Anna's back.
I'm not frozen. I'm not.
Nope. We can hear and see you, and you're moving.
What did you hear?
That coming out is still a serious thing.
Like, what Theus was touching upon the are your friends still going to see you the same if you announce that you're changing your religion? Hopefully you picked your friends well and they will accept you for who you are. This one is difficult. There are some people I do not tell. I wouldn't consider them friends. But I'm very well aware that there's a safety issue. People feel very comfortable. One time I was walking hand in hand with my girlfriend, and a couple of guys were very rude. So I'd love to say that all society is there, and a lot of society is a lot more welcoming. And yes, it's. I'm sorry, my brain is just blanking.
But Anna, what gets me though is like it hasn't happened to me, but you see it in passing, I guess you could say, where it's not enough for people to. Okay, so there's I don't give a damn, and then there's embracing, right? And I have, and like I said, this is anecdotal, but I've seen where it's like if you're not embracing, you're the bad guy. Like mom, dad, I'm gay. I don't care. Ooh, you transphobic and blah blah blah. No, they just really don't give a damn. You're still Bill, you're still Kelly. Fine, you're gay. Don't care. Versus, oh, well, what do you need from us? And thank you for, feeling that we were someone that you could bring this to. And, the whole kumbaya rally around thing. I imagine that's less in the familiar part and more about the social part. But like, if you come out and say, I don't care, right? Like, if someone comes out and be like, I am this or I am that, or I feel this way or I feel that, I don't care. You could be pulled to HR. You could be singled out as being something other than what you are. When really you're just being like, it's not that I
Okay, is that not being over?
agree. I just don't care.
Is that not the way of saying? And just correct me. And the only reason I'm even jumping in is because everybody know, or you should know by now, that my middle child is gay. And I literally said just that.
The
I literally
difference, Marlon,
just said, okay, that's great. I don't care. And she, being a teenager and being the a-hole that she is, and y'all can pick on me all she want to. I've been calling her that for the longest time because at that time she was. And she was doing bad at school, and she was talking back and everything else. And we checked her on it. And you're just doing this because I'm gay. And I kept saying, sweetheart, you're going to learn the hard way, which by this time, because I'm going to brag, when daddy tell you something, he's not going to lie. I'm not scared of you. I ain't got the sugarcoat jack. No, I don't give a rat's butt that you're gay. You going to be with women. I guarantee you, your relationship with that woman is going to be the exact same thing with a man and a woman. Guess what? It was. You calls me every night trying to complain. I told you that it was going to be.
the point I was making, Marlon, is the difference between tolerance and acceptance.
But that, okay, but what I wanted to finish was
people will actually
people
demonize you for not accepting.
But be accepting. Why would? And I'm not arguing with
There's a
you.
difference.
I'm arguing with other people who sits there and says that. Why would me saying I don't care if you gay is not the equivalent of I'm tolerant of it? I'm not against you. I just don't care about your love life. It's the same thing as somebody comes to the door right now and say I'm heterosexual. Good for you, buddy. I don't care.
I get it, and I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, from the vulnerable group or the outside group, perhaps, and this is the only thing I can interpret because this is how if you change the conversation to race, right? It's a matter of, are you even hearing me? Like, people want to be validated by other people. So when they say I'm coming out to you, I need to hear your validation back to me that this is okay, that you're a safe space, that you are seeking to understand, that you are, all those things. And that's cool. If you get that, it's cool. I am saying, as a heteronormative, whatever the right verbiage is nowadays, I am saying nobody owes you that. At the minimum, what they owe you is, all right,
stay out of your way.
I see you like everybody else. All right, do you? But for the individual, it could be a different thing. The individual may be needing or expecting the validation piece. My thing is, both of those should be okay, depending upon the audience, of course. Your parents is a little different, right? Your parents, you would hope your parents say a little something more than, all right. But
so,
but in your way, though, Marlon, in your way, you did validate. In your way, you did validate. And your child knows you. So they picked up validation from it. But to someone else, that they may not read it that way. And see, we oftentimes overlook that. There's unique interactions. Like, if you hear me, like with my kids, it may not sound normal to you, but they know how to read me. So like I'm saying, in the way you laid out the story, I don't know. I can't speak for your daughter, but there was validation in there. If you go by what I think I know of you,
If you are part of a group and someone says they are gay and then you say they are not accepted in that group, then yes, I think it's okay to say the person who didn't accept them is wrong. And Parker, this is my one little pushback
I'm
on
not
this.
sure I understood, but okay.
I think it was the last part. Then yes, I think it's okay. Okay. If you are part of a group and someone says they are gay and then you say they are not accepted into that group, then yes, I think it's okay to say the person who didn't accept them is wrong. So if you was cool and y'all was hanging out together and everything else, and they came out and said you was gay, and then all of a sudden they all busy, and then you find out that they're still hanging out with each other, they just didn't invite you anymore. Yes, that's wrong.
Perhaps it may be wrong, or it may be a sign that it's time to move on to a new social group.
And this is something else
You
that I
can't
want to
require them to meet you where you are. You can't. You just can't.
and this is the part where I
No
want to
one
push
owes
back
you
on
to come
something.
where you are. Huh?
This is what I want to push back on what you're saying, Parker, because of what the story that I was saying about my daughter. And it's a timing thing. I'll admit that. Because because what I'm about to say would come off as, okay, we may need to get HR involved. Did you come out and say that you were? I'm gonna get to it. Or you said that you were not hanging with me? You don't want to work a project with me? You ignored me and everything else because I said I was gay, or in everything they're not dealing with you because, dude, you've been an a-hole since you actually joined this company, and we're just sick and tired of the crap. Now you can say you're gay, you came out gay, and that's the reason why. Other people would look at you like, okay, now you're just a gay a-hole, but you're still an a-hole. And we don't want to deal with you no more.
Yeah, I don't like when people weaponize their classification.
Yes, that's
I
my
can't stand
point.
it. I don't like
That's
it when
my
black
point.
folk do it. I don't like it when members of the queer community do it. I don't care. I don't like it when people of the disabled community do it. It's so annoying, and it can be so damaging when you're basically taking the victimhood card and you're going to use it as a mask to cause harm to others. Now, perhaps you're doing it because people have harmed you because of your status. But does that make you any better when you now use your status to harm other people who hadn't even done nothing to you? Right? Like you become the same problem.
Yeah, that's what I was
And
saying.
I've seen it in race, gender, and everywhere else.
That's what I was saying about my daughter. When you're talking back in the classroom and you're not doing your homework and you talking back at home and everything else, and we're checking you on all the stuff that you're doing and everything else, and you're this close to going to college, so you literally cannot mess up because you're this close. Yeah, we're finna check you on it. And the first thing that come out your mouth is you're just doing this because I'm gay. I don't give a damn what you do. I don't care. You could be straight right now and I'm still gonna call you on your crap. You could be a male and I'm gonna call you on your crap. It doesn't matter. So that's why I was saying with this situation, was you an a-hole before you came out and said you were gay? So all you really did was turn around and say now you're a gay a-hole. You opened up to one thing, but you didn't change the other thing. A-holes have no class, no gender, no sexuality, no race, no creed, no color, no religion.
What is a creed? Damn it, I don't know what that is. What the hell is a creed?
I think it's nationality. Or I think
or is it like a culture thing?
No, I kind of okay. If I had to guess what a creed is,
I guess we could Google
The
it.
movie with Michael B. Jordan.
Well, that's Apollo Creed. Don't you do that to Tracy. Don't you do that to
So
Tracy.
silly.
Don't you do that to Tracy.
Creed is so. Freemasons would that be Creed? I don't want to deal with
I
Freemasons.
don't know.
Oh,
I guess in a way, because like Assassin's Creed, the video game, it's like
I was about to mute you, but yeah, who you identify, what group you God, dog, how do you even define this?
A group has a creed. It is a
See, Mickey, you say creed is a religious belief, but they have religion in there.
It's a belief. It is a.
But it could be deeper than that. Right? Think about it. Like, okay, if we use it on the way of an organization mixed with a religion, so it's an identity, right? You could literally be a Christian, but your creed might be a Mason or a Shriner or something like those secret societies that exist. They're their own thing.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm resisting just hitting Google. I don't know.
Okay.
Should just reach out to our robot overlords and find out the answer.
Creeds also called confession of faith, and authoritative formulation of the belief of a religious community or by transference of an individual.
That's kind of like what me and Anna were saying.
Okay. So, okay.
Thank you, Anna.
Well, y'all been smarter than me since I don't know when. A formal statement of a religious belief. So, yeah, snake handlers are a creed because they believe that to be a religion.
But is a religion a creed?
Hold on. Say it again. Say it again.
Anna, you're on mute.
I got her off mute now.
I do not.
I've
not been put. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Snake handlers themselves. That's not the creed. That what they believe is the creed. It is the.
Like the non-medicine, like the subset of rules?
Have we gotten so deep into it that when we say religion, we automatically go to Christianity or Judaism and everything else? So we have to put creed in there to separate ourselves from the better, well-known religions. Christianity.
It may be a little bit of that.
Yeah, Christianity.
I mean, in America, everything is.
Yeah.
In America, everything is centered on Christianity, so that's just kind of our go-to. That's our language. That's our calendar. That's our sense of time. That's
yeah. So maybe we all that when we say religion, people automatically constantly go straight to the religions, well-known religions. We automatically go to Christianity. We automatically go to Judaism. We automatically go to Mormons. We all automatically go to.
Now, to be fair, don't nobody go to the Mormon.
Oh, you will be wrong. Yes, they do.
I'm saying as far as like default conversation. Only time I ever hear about Mormons is when somebody mentions anything that has to do with Mitt Romney, or if that Jeff's character comes up in conversation. Other than that, they kind of ignore it, even though the Mormons own like 1.5 states. But okay,
good Lord, we got 13 lights. Keep it coming, folks. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Now here's the deal with. Go ahead, Anna. Go ahead.
If I could just say, yes, you have an excellent point. there's a big difference between needing that outside confirmation of, am I okay with you? I hear, I don't care. And I'm like, cool, we can go on. Where I care is if somebody's going to do something negative or violent. So there are, I would, tonight maybe not the time to have this nuanced conversation, but yes, there are people that are seeking validation from outside themselves, and you're the only one who can give yourself that.
Doesn't snake handlers believe they have the power over the devil, aka the snake, and they are witnessing by handling the snake?
I think that would be a deeper conversation because I'm not 100% into that whole
No,
level of weirdness.
That was the first thing that popped in my head. So I hate that I opened up a can of worms, but it was the first thing that popped in my head.
But going to what Anna was just talking about, I know I was saying like nobody owes that to you and blah blah blah, and it's true. Nobody owes it to you. They don't. But part of being a decent person in a decent society, and this is situational now. The way I would respond to a teenager or a young adult coming out to me, and the way I would respond to a 40-year-old person coming out to me, they're different. They just are. A young person, I'm gonna be so super patient, and I'm trying to be reaffirming and all of that because their toolbox, in my opinion, this is me pushing my opinion out on other people, but in my opinion, their toolbox isn't going to be as fleshed out, right? So they may need something to help them, like they are adrift and they need something that they can latch onto. And out of all their fears, because until you've actually experienced it, all you have are your fears. So out of all their fears, they chose me to express this to, then I have a great deal of responsibility towards that young person. It's not fair, and I could choose to ignore it. But the way I am for that young person, I will try to be as affirming as I can be without becoming weird and condescending and patronizing, right? But then if you're 40, 45 years old and you come out and say, hey, I'm going out on a limb and I'm gay. Okay. I mean, you probably not gonna get that level of give a damn from me because you should have a pretty deep toolbox at this point. It doesn't make your struggle any less important because you still had to overcome some stuff to come out, right? It might even be harder now that you're older because you have a whole other life sitting before you that you've had to hide or mask or deny or whatever to get to this moment of your truth. I'm just probably not going to be, I'm going to be 100% welcoming because I could care less, right? I'm not like I was in my young days where if a guy came out to me back when I was in my like late teens, early 20s, I'd have been real squirrely because one, I was an asshole towards people in the gay community. And two, I was still ignorant thinking that if you gay, then that means you might be looking at me funny. Now I'm like, people are attracted to whoever the hell they're attracted to. If they were looking at you because they were attracted to you, then they already were looking at you. If they not attracted to you, they don't care. So, but everybody's not there. We all are in different stages. And so that's probably part of the fear factor as well, because you think you know, but you don't know until you put it out there.
All right.
But don't come around me talking about some damn cereal or grits or candy corn or mayonnaise or Peeps. Ain't got no time for that.
All you people that eat Peeps go to hell. I'm sorry. Y'all disgusting. It's gelatin sugar. Y'all ought to be ashamed of yourselves.
Candy coated mayonnaise puffs.
Disgusting individuals. Something wrong with y'all.
They about to start selling Peeps too. You know, they in the store.
No. They changed the flavor. They have chocolate and strawberry Peeps.
They got all of them out there. They can't sell them but one time a year. And they all over the place right now. And it's just disgusting. They're the same Peeps that they were selling 5 years ago because they don't have an expiration date. They might have a date on the package, but nobody pays attention to it. They just change the date and repackage it. Those are your granddaddy's Peeps. Only thing new about those Peeps is the wrapper. Just trying to save some people, man.
Yep, we said it, Peeps. Yeah, they are gross. I like them as a kid, though. You like sugar.
And
Disgusting.
Your
Last
point being
video of the
what?
week, and yes, for anybody who even tried to argue with me oh Marlon, it ain't that serious. Yes, it is. I've lived it. I've lived it. For almost 20 years, I lived it.
How could you do this to me?
It was a one-time thing.
When did it happen?
Wednesday night after you went to bed early.
Where?
In the living room on the couch.
This couch?
I'm sorry. It just kind of happened.
How did something like this just kind of happen?
I was bored and lonely and a little bit tipsy, and, once it started, it just kept going.
You didn't stop it?
No, I didn't stop it. I'm sorry. Can you forgive me?
You're rewatching that episode with me tonight. The trust? It's gonna take time.
It ain't that serious.
It is.
It is not that serious.
Yep.
You have DVR. Watch the dang on episode when you got time. It ain't that serious.
No. Tracy, I've lived it several times over.
Tracy, this is when people got control issues, because it's not about that you watched it, it's that you watched it without me. So now you've seen something I haven't seen yet. So now it's a problem. And so I don't even want to watch it now. That's them people.
Well, don't watch it then. Let me watch my episodes of the Andy Griffith Show and leave me the heck alone.
Control issues. What
Does
it is.
anybody binge watch classic TV shows?
I promise you.
I do. Green Acres, I Dream of Jeannie. Yeah, I watched.
I promise both of y'all with these old ass damn shows, there's never be a time when I will walk up to y'all and go, "Oh my God, you watched the next episode before me." Knock yourself out. Watch the whole season before me. Watch the whole show before it goes on.
I know the classic shows were better because one episode was basically the whole series. Look at Three's Company. It was basically a misunderstanding happened. Jack falls over something. Blah 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 blah. You really didn't miss
Marlon's
an
whole
episode.
thing is, if we start watching Game of Thrones and we didn't watch the first 3 episodes together, and then I come home and you don't watch episode 4 and 5, now Marlon got a problem.
Oh, why did y'all assume it was me? I was talking about Foxy.
Why you gotta tell her business when she not there to defend herself?
I'm about to say she ain't even here to defend herself. You just gonna go ahead and do that? That ain't right, bro.
That literally was the quickest goalpost move I ever saw in my freaking life. Y'all threw me under the bus when you thought it was me. When I put it on the person who really did the damage, why you trying to get on her? She ain't here.
You don't have to tell her business when she's not there. If she was
But you
there,
had no
that'd be a
problem
whole
telling
different
you had no
discussion.
problem telling
Then I'd
my
be like,
business
well,
when
why
you
you
thought it
like
was
that?
me.
Just watch a show without her. But since
But
she's
you had
not
no
And
there,
did you
problem
ever
telling
have
my
the
business when you thought
conversation
it was
that
me.
she wasn't supposed to watch it without you?
and
Say
who
that one more.
cares?
Say
You're
that one more
just an
time.
episode ahead.
Say that question one more time, Theus.
I said, did you ever have the discussion that she wasn't supposed to watch it without you?
Yes.
And did she agree?
Yes.
And did she agree?
Yes. Yes.
Oh boy.
We agreed
Well,
to
sometimes
each
there's
other.
misunderstandings.
Just like every episode of Three's Company.
This is the worst group of individuals I have ever seen in my life. Y'all will move a goalpost in a freaking
Travell,
heartbeat.
and your problem being what?
Yo, oh my God. I have a random question. What is the most amount of episodes of a TV show you have watched in a row? Like, have you ever seen a whole season of something in 1 or 2 days?
Yes, the Golden Girls.
I will
Twice.
get nauseous if I watch TV for too long. So probably no more than maybe 4 or 5 hours. So whatever I can get in that amount of time. Because like Burn Notice is my show. I can watch Burn Notice right now. But
Burn Notice
I like
still
all
I
these
can't get
modern
through like
shows, and I'm like, I can't get into them.
I've watched Burn Notice.
Burn Notice has been around for a while now.
Is it like classic? Like when I think of classics, is it maybe early 90s is where I stop at?
No, it was in 2000.
No, it's more recent than that. This was when Michael B. Jordan was still a teenager. He had he was in one of those episodes.
Parker, to answer your question, I would think I could say Leverage. I've done that, but yeah,
I couldn't get all the way through Leverage in one shot. That's
I got through Leverage. I got through the first season of Leverage.
Does Murder She Wrote count?
Murder She Wrote doesn't count for anything.
Yes, it does. That was a great show. What are you talking about?
Horrible show. You might as well say Moonlighting.
Moonlighting was good until they slept together. Now I was like, nah, I can't watch this no more.
I've watched, going back to people's question, I think I've done Leverage and I think I've done Burn Notice. That I've watched the season in 1 or 2
They're the
days.
same dumb ideas.
Also the same.
A whole season. Yeah, I thought you were talking about like the whole run.
No, he said episodes of the amount of episodes you watched in a row.
Matlock.
Like, have you
Does
seen
Matlock
a whole
count?
season of something in 1 or 2 days? Yes, I have.
Then I misspoke. Yes, I have definitely sat through an entire season of Burn Notice and a few other shows. So yeah.
My problem is I watch classic TV and I can't stand the new television shows. I cannot stand any of them. I'm like, this is terrible.
Yeah, I saw that thing you posted in the group. I don't know what that was.
Oh,
Clint Eastwood or something?
Eastwood scene. Oh yeah, you wasn't near that episode.
Oh, that was the paint your wagon thing, and thank you for telling me the name of it. And now I really realize I don't like you because I forgot.
I told you Clint Eastwood was in a musical. I was like, Clint Eastwood is in a musical with Lee Marvin. But did anybody?
Well, back
believe
then
me?
everybody was like classical
When you
actors.
heard Clint sing, you realize he ain't got no business singing nothing. No, don't you do that. Don't you do that.
I'm prepared to binge watch season 3 of The Chosen before my partner gets here. Okay.
Never heard of that show.
I don't know what The Chosen is.
I don't know what that is. He's on season 2, but he's almost at the last. Now, and here's where the argument comes in with me and Foxy. Because
this is an argument?
It was an argument.
Because
what we was doing was, for a while, they was putting Disney specials on, like, is it Disney or HBO?
Mickey Mouse Club.
Disney, like Loki and She-Hulk and shows like that, where they was just dropping episodes after that, and we would watch it together. But then things would come up where we couldn't watch it together, and the person.
So now she's supposed to suffer
again. Why did you assume?
Because you work late.
Why did you assume it was me? When it was
because you had already said that was the problem.
I said, when you put Anna to sleep with this argument.
When all Marlon needs to do is just be more understanding.
What did we decide on with Anna? Was it AU Mafia? Ambassador of Ukraine Mafia, AU Mafia. We're gonna stick with that.
No, Parker did not put that comment in the. You wrong, Parker. You were wrong.
What happened?
Tracy watched 2 seasons
To
of
a
Wilkins
Wilkins
Coffee,
Coffee.
yeah.
Yes, and it was brilliant. Brilliant.
The most violent doggone commercials you could put on
You
TV.
have to admit that was some series of funny
I ain't got to
commercials.
admit nothing
You
at
don't
all.
drink Wilkins Coffee? Okay, I'm gonna blow your house up.
By the way, just to inform y'all that we have another video that's coming probably next week, or next week or the week after, because I got a whole bunch of videos that I ain't got to redo the show. But there is a video that's coming out that me and Foxy disagreed on. And I'm, of course, not going to tell you which one of us disagreed on what. So y'all have to figure it out so y'all can absolutely be completely wrong like the other videos that we disagreed on.
Could you at least tell us why you were wrong?
Which is why I'm not going to tell you which one of us said what.
Well, whatever makes sense. Foxy said it, so it don't really,
Diaz, tell everybody where they can find you.
Hey, y'all can find me on YouTube, Complex Mind Simple Man. Oh yeah, you can find me on Facebook. Same way, hopefully, perhaps. I don't know. And ComplexSimpleMan.com.
Anna?
You can find me here tomorrow night on Radical Truth Power.
Thank you. Tracy?
TracyMediaLLC.com.
Hey, what about the dipsticks and lipstick?
That's, you know what? That's March 24th, and you gonna get the name right. We not gonna play these games. We not playing with y'all no more.
I'm not gonna take you seriously when you don't even know the name of the show, Tracy.
We got the name right. Be quiet.
What was the name of it?
High Heels and Blue Jeans. That's right, Anna. Thank you. High Heels and Blue Jeans. Again, High Heels and Blue Jeans, March 24th. Thank you.
You trying to convince us or you?
No, I'm trying to tell y'all so the jokes will stop. Because they not funny.
Y'all give me a second.
Parker, you got that name, right? Write it down. Please. Thank you.
Y'all give me a second here. Because we're gonna actually put an end to this once and
Sadistics and lipsticks. Oh my gosh! Now y'all got Susan up here doing it.
Okay. You know. What's the name of the show?
High Heels and Blue Jeans, March 24th.
Okay.
Live on YouTube.
And that is exactly what it is. Your thumbnail says that. The title, however, is Blue Jeans.
We the ones on the show. We know the title. We're on the show. You are not.
I'm sorry. Again, your thumbnail says High Heels and Blue Jeans. Your title is Blue Jeans and High Heels.
Go by the thumbnail because I'm going to go back and change it right after this.
Just be there, everybody.
Thank you.
Just be there.
Yeah,
just be there.
Be there, no matter what it's called, because it's probably going to change regardless of what we say.
You know what? Don't nobody make do this on the Al show. I'm just saying. They'll be like,
that's right.
What it's called, even though it airs 2 times a year. Don't start none. It won't be none.
Hey, I'm trying to back you up, and I know that
I'm
was a shot
talking
at
Marlon.
She talking to you. That's just, I made the thumbnail and the title. She talking to me like hey.
Sometimes when your blood sugars run a little low, you don't necessarily think about everything that you're doing.
And sometimes
Hey, y'all just make sure y'all tune in and watch Garter Belts and Pantyhose, and we gonna have a good time. And thigh highs and fishnet.
Also, please do not forget that Theus did put a new video out on his page on ComplexSimpleMan.com on YouTube. It's very informative. Please go out and take a look. Please comment on it. Please subscribe to his channel. Please leave a comment, which I believe for Theus is most important, so y'all can have a discussion. The point is, he's running for Congress. These are the things that he want to change. So please go out there and say something.
Yes, please.
Marlon, I didn't do it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, non-conforming individuals.
Thigh highs and two tops.
That is our show for tonight. We will see you all tomorrow for Radical Teacher
High heels and blue jeans, March, whatever day she said. Be there.
24th, March
24th.
The day after my birthday.
Oh gosh, we gotta hear about this again.
Oh my gosh, for somebody who don't remind somebody 50 days after their birthday that it's 50 days before my birthday.
That's because my birthday is important. Thank you very much.
Am I not? What are you saying?
I'm not. I'm just, I'm making just statements.
Until next
time.
My birthday coming up. And until next time, we will see you when we see you. Peace.
Vote for Trump.